Hey y'all, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. Don't mind me, I just woke up. It's Friday afternoon now. Yes, afternoon, because I am on night shift this week. So anyways, we are going to do a popping garden tour because things are like going mad outside. I don't know if it's just the area I'm in or the compost I used when I amended my beds in the fall. I'm thinking it's a lot to do with the weather. I'm in southern Ontario. We had a very mild El Nino winter. We have seen 22 degrees already here. So it's probably the weather, but I'm gonna take you around the back. The quality will get better in a minute. And I'm gonna show you, actually, I'll take you in the front too, because my hostas are like full grown. People aren't believing me. Let's go take a gander. It really seems so early for this. I don't think I've ever done one in April before because there's really been nothing to cry home about. But like I said, these weather patterns are just crazy this year. So a little bit different here. We had our apple trees in containers, dwarf apple trees in containers. We're sitting here on this patio. We had some issues with voles this year. I don't know if anybody else is having these issues, but basically voles tunnel, and they were tunneling and trying to tunnel up underneath the bottom of them. So basically they were trying to tunnel up into the containers to get up into those apple trees because they were just straight on the ground. So what we decided to do was actually move them onto patio stones. This way they can't get up in there. So we just kind of are trying to amend the grass here and just make this like a nice grass area to go with our patio. But let me show you what's going on in the actual garden bed. So just like as you can see here, like just the hostas in the patio are just going nuts. We've got birds going just crazy at our feeder. We actually had a goldfinch this morning. We've seen house finches. They're just all out in full force. So first things first, our asparagus. So you watched me plant these I planted crowns 2 years ago, and we now finally have massive asparagus. So this is just the start of the patch coming in. Like, they're huge. They're like probably an entire almost foot. I gotta cut them down today. But as you can see, they're all starting to come up and through, and we're gonna be making pickled asparagus and selling them in our little marketplace. I started that market this year. So we've been having great success with that. Moving along down the bed. I don't think I ever went through my garden plans with you guys. It doesn't really matter. I'm doing a very simple garden this year. Every year I experiment with a bunch of different crap, and I've kind of had it this year. I'm doing other things. We've got that market going. I just got a lot of other stuff going on. So I'm going to do pretty much back to basics, but our garden tours are still going to be fun. And I'm still going to show you everything going on because we are going to grow different perennials this year. So we've got that. Next door, I don't remember what's going next door actually. Oh, celery. I'm going to do a line of green onions, and then I'm going to do some celery. Here is going to be our cucumber and our zucchini bed. So we've pretty much got that all accounted for here. Of course, those are big ticket items that need more space, so we're going to do that. I have got my my carrots, as you can see, planted over this way. I don't think I see anything in here quite yet. Oh, maybe I do. Oh, hold on. Do you guys see that tiny little spot there? I think we finally got some germination. So, little tip for planting, especially carrots or any of your cool crops, try and do it on a day before it's gonna like downpour rain, or you're gonna get a couple days of rain, because then you don't have to come out here and consistently keep them wet and moist. And when you're doing them inside in a greenhouse, it's super easy to keep them moist and those seeds wet so that you get germination, but it's so much harder to do that outside, especially if you work like I do. So I planted these knowing that there was going to be a couple of days of rain coming, and it's perfect. They worked themselves out because, as you can see next door, they really worked themselves out. So I have got half of a radish bed going on in here, and as you can see, it worked out perfectly. Temperatures were good. I was able to plant them before the rain, and they literally germinated themselves, and they're going to take care of themselves. This bed here, fingers crossed, last year, so I guess this will be new this year, I'm trying to do loofah. So last year I grew loofah in my indoor greenhouse. All was well. I transplanted them outside and started hardening them off, and they died. So I don't really know, but what had happened inside of my greenhouse is I think I had started them too early. They started using their tentacles and just kind of getting stuck to everything. Well, then when I had to bring them out, I ripped all that off, and I feel like I might have killed some of the plant doing it that way. I also heard loofah is super finicky and tricky, so I'm hoping the plants that I have started, I'm planting just along the fence here, and they're going to grow up this trellis here, and in front of it I'm going to do peppers. So I mean, fingers crossed that that works out for me. You probably won't end up seeing loofah here. I mean, I don't have high hopes. My other hope is I could probably try and find it from somebody like is starting loofah themselves, or I just say forget it and end up growing something else that climbs, whether that be a squash or a melon or something like that. And then over here, I actually am doing a salsa garden. So I'm gonna have my tomato plants in behind at the very back of the bed, trellising up. I'm sure you've seen in the past that I've trellised this way with these sections. I decided to do it against the back this year again. Last year I did it the back in that spot, but I'm gonna do it here. And then in front of it, I've got my garlic, which is absolutely wild. Like, just wild. I wanna come out here and kind of, I think I'm going to mound around them and just mulch a little bit better around the base, because those have been exposed for quite some time, and we are going down to about 5 degrees Celsius in the next week, so I just want to make sure they're extra protected. As you can see, I had straw mulch down this year. I ended up having to take the straw mulch out of my bed. If you've watched any of my shorts, you will see that I had what I'm going to assume was a bunny trying to make a nest with my mulch. So as much as I don't want to mess around with nature, I would have loved to have them in my garden. I do have a predatory dog that would have killed them all, and I didn't want to see that happen, so I was really trying to deter them from my yard so that we didn't have a slaughterhouse. But I've got my garlic here. In the middle, I'm going to do a row of basil, and then over here I already have planted, and as you can see, have sprouted. Here I've got onions. So salsa garden, or I guess you could call it even like a spaghetti sauce garden, because I got my garlic, my basil, my onions, and my tomatoes. This is probably my most favorite area of the whole garden this year because yum. Next door I have I had blueberry bushes back there that I think have finally kicked the bucket. I don't know if you can see it. I had bought these from a nursery a couple years ago. They never came to fruition. They ended up getting drowned out by all the other stuff, so they didn't work. It is what it is. Actually, that one's trying to grow leaves. The audacity. So maybe I'll leave him and I won't crowd him this year, and I'll see what happens. But this garden bed, which was originally built to be a pollinator bed, so I had put like a wildflower mix in here, cone flowers, like I had put a bunch of different stuff. It's got my bird bath that's going to be hung up on the fence. It's got my bird bath. It was a pollinator garden. I am actually going to take out this delphinium. My neighbor's getting the delphinium. It had another delphinium here that I already got rid of. This is going to become my herb garden. So I've got comfrey growing in the back already, and like this comfrey has already taken off, which is great for pain. They call it the broken bone plant, so you can make different things out of it in order to heal those kind of ailments. I'm going to grow some calendula in here because I always grow calendula to make some salve, which is nature's polysporin. I'm going to do just maybe some lavender. I've got a bunch of different healing plants that I'm going to put in here, and I'm going to make this like my healing garden. So I'm really excited for this. In the past, I have mostly done my herbs and stuff. I have an old herb wall. I'll show you that real quick. So I just have this little empty space in behind the garden here where I've had a herb ladder in the past. I made this herb wall. I'm not going to do that this year. As you can see, I didn't even take the labels out last year. I just ran out of willpower, but I'm not going to do that this year. I didn't have the best luck. I am interested to see, because some of these plants died off, and I'm interested to see if they'll reseed themselves down on the ground. A lot of them died. It was hard to keep them watered because it's not really in an accessible spot. So that would be one I guess suggestion I would make is if you are doing a herb wall or ladder or anything in containers, making sure that there's accessible water, because this just didn't work out. So I'm gonna grow my herbs in the ground this year, forgetting these pots and moving on. And then we have moved our apple trees to just in front of the shed for now. This shed is getting redone finally this year, fingers crossed. It's in hurting shape. It has been since we moved in here 4.5 years ago. So yeah, it's always needed to get done. It was kind of bottom of the list, last on the list kind of thing to do. We had garden beds to do and yada yada. But as you can see, we dug out in the patio stones and put these containers with our trees on top. And this way those voles can't get up and in. If they're gonna try, they'd have to go up here, and I'm gonna notice that. But I don't know if this is a good thing, you guys. We've already got apple buds. That's a little concerning to me because it's so early. I mean, I could be wrong. I've only been keeping apples for... Oh, this wind. You can see how much how much rain we've got actually. I didn't realize that was in here. So that's how much rain we've gotten in the last few days. It's been really wet. But anyways, I've only kept apples for a couple years now, so I'm not like an apple expert or anything. But I do remember a couple years back we had a bunch of buds really early, and then a lot of the apple trees died here in our area because I actually am near an orchard. So anyways, that is the garden as per now. Let me take you to the front and show you my perennials just super quick in case you are a flower gardener. I'm actually getting much more into flowers than I ever have been in the past. I predominantly have focused on growing food, but I'm really getting enjoyment out of different perennials and like growing pretty things as opposed to just growing food. So let's go take a look out front real quick. So like, check this out. I literally have tulips with full tulip heads and literally color coming out on these. I have ice cream tulips is what they're called. I planted them for my anniversary. Was that year 4 or 5? Traditional wedding, if you don't know this story already, traditional wedding anniversary calls for flowers. Anyways, we planted flowers. Instead of buying flowers and letting them rot on the counter, we bought flowers that would come up every year to be reminded of our wedding anniversary. And here I am, not even being able to remember the year. So that's awesome. Anyways, moving next door, our corabels looking beautiful. We've got, just as the back, we've got our delphiniums. Our peonies are already just like almost 2 feet tall. And then look at our hostas, you guys. Anybody else experiencing this right now? So we have tons of plans for our front garden. It's super windy out here, so I'm looking to go inside soon. But I want to put a hydrangea tree here. I'm thinking cone flowers on the side, some rudbeckias. I have read about Veronica's speedwell or speedwell plants. So yeah, lots of plans. This is super, super empty right now. It's almost a blank slate for us, so we can go nuts. But thank you so much for joining us on our first random, super early spring garden tour. It's freezing and I'm going in the house now. Talk to you soon. Bye.